I, 23 male, was 16 years old at the time. My aunt, uncle, and younger cousin, 10 years old, lived in a very old house in Albuquerque, New Mexico. At the time, I was visiting my grandma in Santa Fe, New Mexico during the summer and was asked to house dog sit by my uncle as they were taking a few days trip to California to look at new houses in Poway. I was told that I could stay in my cousin's room as he slept with them every night for unbeknownst reasons. The first night was relatively chill, swam in their pool, hung out with their German Shepherd, ordered food, and watched Star Wars on their big screen TV. Normal time, nothing too shady. The second day is where it turned for the worst. Their dog would not stop barking at random things. After years of their dog barking down the hallway at my cousin's room, we had grown accustomed to it and figured the dog was a very vocal guy. I did the normal, finished Star Wars Episode 6, ate, and went to my cousin's room to sleep. However, I could not shake the feeling of someone else's presence. The whole night, tossing and turning, I couldn't sleep due to this weird feeling. Around 1 a.m., the sliding closet door slid open maybe 3 inches or so. Scared me so bad. But being the realist I was at the time, I went over to find an explanation. No draft. The vent was on the bedside of the room. The bedroom door was closed, and there was no windows to let any air in. I was very nervous, but decided to try to relax and get some sleep. I still could not. By the closet door, there was a bookshelf. On it, a big box of metal coins from my other aunt and uncle who lived in Bali. That was pushed against the back corner of the shelf. 3:27 a.m. I remember this time like the back of my hand. The coin box flies off the bookshelf, coins spilling all over the ground. The dog is going ballistic. I ran to the bathroom and immediately puked in utter terror at what had just happened. A very, very heavy box of coins gets pushed off the shelf by itself? In my mind, there was no explanation other than supernatural. I went back to Santa Fe and contacted my uncle, who told me that they had been struggling to live in that house because of unexplainable moments like this. Hadn't told anyone. And that was why they were seeking a new house elsewhere. I thought I would share my story on how I became a believer. When I was around 11 or 12 years old, there was a wedding near my house, and I was invited. I went with my mom. Weddings at night are pretty common where I live. At the wedding, I was hanging out with some neighborhood kids who were older than me. Most of them decided to go to a nearby park, which was right beside a temple. The scary part was that both the park and the temple were located inside a forest. It wasn't a huge forest, but it was still pretty creepy at night. There was another kid, let's call him Max, who was about 14, a couple of years older than me. Max and I also wanted to go, but when we asked our moms, they said no. Obviously, we were disappointed, especially since the others had already gone ahead. After a while, we started feeling bored and kept bugging our moms to let us go. Eventually, they gave in and said okay. We were excited and headed out. The path we took was dimly lit, with the occasional street lamp flickering above us. On the right side of the road, there were houses, but the left side was swallowed in darkness, forest. As we walked, I started feeling strange. I couldn't explain it, but something in the air felt heavy. I suddenly had this cold sensation down my spine, like someone was watching me from the trees. I didn't say anything to Max at the time, but I kept glancing toward the woods, half expecting to see something, or someone peering out. As we were walking, we passed by a house on the right. It looked completely normal, nothing strange. We had seen that house plenty of times before, since we lived nearby, but this time, we saw a woman near the main gate of the house, next to a water tap and a few buckets. She was washing clothes. We thought it was weird. Who washes clothes around 8:30 p.m.? I don't remember the exact time, but it was late. Still, we ignored it and kept walking. Suddenly, the woman stood up and started walking toward us, fast. She was speaking in an aggressive tone, and it felt like she had been waiting for us. At first, we thought she was talking to someone else, but she kept coming closer, and we couldn't understand a word she was saying. We were starting to get nervous. We turned around and started walking back toward the wedding, but she began following us. Her tone got louder and more aggressive, and she picked up her pace. Max looked behind, and then he tapped me on the shoulder, as if telling me to run. So we ran, hard. But then she started running too. We panicked and sprinted as fast as we could. We didn't stop until we reached the wedding area, right under a street lamp. We turned around. She was gone, just vanished into thin air. We didn't see where she went, and we never saw her again. Later, I asked Max what caused him to signal me to run, and he said, "I saw her shadow, and it was getting bigger and bigger." I know ghosts are real because I've seen them. When I was a kid, me and my 2 older siblings lived in those circle apartments. In that apartment, I had seen a lot of things, especially one moment that sticks with me a lot. The moment of complete and utter truth that they are 100% real. I had an eldest sister who I roomed with. She's about 4 to 5 years older than me, and since my family was poor, we had to share a room with each other, whilst my second oldest brother had his own room. One day, me and my sister decided to rearrange the room, so our bunk bed was backed onto a window, and we had an old, very vintage vanity facing the wall by the door. It was a pretty thing with a carved mirror and everything. One day, I woke up in the middle of the night and saw something that will never leave my conscience to this day. It was a woman, a blue, transparent woman, sitting in the vanity with the moon rays facing down upon her, brushing her hair with an old vintage brush. I was both shocked and in awe at this sight, but I didn't know if she was good or bad. So this is where I know for a fact what I was seeing wasn't an illusion or a dream or a figment of my imagination, because I called out my sister's name and she responded to me. She was wide awake and seeing the exact thing I was seeing. A fully 3D shapen, blue, transparent woman brushing her hair, like moving her hands and running her other hand through her hair on our vanity stool facing the vanity. I know what I saw, and my sister does too, and her confirmation of her saying exactly this, it's clear as day in my memory. I know. Don't move. She says with big emphasis on don't move. Just think about it. There was no way that the trick of the light could make a fully articulate grown woman moving, literally brushing her hair, and neither could a simple trick of the light make a highly ornate vintage brush. There is no way they aren't real, and she is just one of the encounters I've had. And I know I wasn't seeing things because my sister saw exactly what I was seeing and was speaking to me fully awake, warning me to not make any sudden moves as to protect me from the unknown ghost. No matter what anyone says, they are real, and I'm a very science-based person, sometimes a skeptic, but every time I even think that they're not real, I go back to that very moment. Somebody else saw what I was seeing, and all of these things I saw when I was young. Even my sister saw ghosts. In fact, it shaped her to become who she is to this day. I'm sorry, but raw evidence will always persuade me, despite unscientific make no sense jumbo, because how is that scientifically possible unless we don't know as much about life and this world as we think we do? But they're real, and I have experiences to back that. Have a paranormal experience of your own? Share it with us at OfficialPhantom.mic at gmail.com. Whether in text or voice recording, we want to hear your story. Thank you for tuning in to Phantom Mic, and remember, if you still feel alone, you weren't listening closely enough.